Hello, I'm Kumari Beck. I'm an assistant professor here in the Faculty of Education. My research is located in the intercultural and the international domains. And by this, I mean that my research interests emerged from my time in the classroom. First of all, for over 15 years with new Canadians who are learning English as an additional language and trying to settle here in Canada. Additionally, I was also working in international teacher education, where we dealt with the complicated nuances of working across cultures, across borders, and across differences in training teachers in how to be effective in their diverse classrooms. Another area of influence is my work and time with an international NGO in working with international development, where I learned enormous amounts about equity and about people who are working on the ground in trying to improve their lives and those lives around them in moving towards equitable outcomes. So those interests came together very nicely into the area known as international education, where we deal with intercultural issues as well as working cross-border, both locally and globally. There's a lot of hype about international education these days, with governments at multiple levels jumping on the bandwagon, including school boards as well. And unfortunately, their enthusiasm for international education is more to do with the money that's brought in by international students rather than the enrichment that we can gain, that we can potentially gain from these intercultural engagements. In fact, the phenomenon known as internationalization of higher education is my primary area of research. And across Canada, universities and colleges are all proposing that we get involved or that we internationalize our campuses precisely for this intercultural enrichment. However, there's very little work going in, whether it's curriculum or changing our teaching styles or looking at the content of what we do in terms of integrating this intercultural and international richness into our campuses. So I've been intrigued and interested in the experiences of people engaged in internationalization. So not just international students, but what about faculty members? How are they being supported to deal with the influx and the sudden increases of international students in their classrooms? What about the local diversity? We invite the world to our campuses and often forget that we have a very rich diversity right here with regards to the increasing diversity of our own local communities. So this porousness between what has been traditionally set apart as local and global, there's where some of my research interests lie. And those are some of the questions that intrigue me. What about the experiences of the international student who comes here? What about the experience of those of our students who choose to spend a semester or more in a field school somewhere out there? How does that experience impact their own understanding of their intercultural engagement? And overall, does international education really contribute to our growing and harmonious look at how our own intercultural relationships are impacted? And so I'd like to now talk about our present research project, which is precisely looking at the everyday experiences of staff, students, faculty, administrators, everyone who's connected to these international initiatives across one university. So we began by looking at the sustainability of internationalization, looking specifically at one faculty. And from there, we have taken this institutional ethnography across the whole university, looking more in depth at curriculum, at courses, how people teach, what are people's attitudes towards the influx of international students, what are domestic students' views on internationalization, how do people understand this idea of internationalization? Is it the same as globalization? And how does this eventually lead to providing inclusive and equitable learning environments at our university? This line of questioning has also led me to focus on the area of curriculum studies in looking at how the intercultural and the international leads us to understand both curriculum theory, but more importantly, how this translates into the classroom. So I work, for example, in a master's program in international education and teaching of English as an additional language. But overall, my research interest in that particular program is in how we develop programs and curriculum for these kinds of learning. This research is under the umbrella of our newly established Center for Research on International Education, where researchers from diverse disciplinary backgrounds can come together to look at the complex issues around internationalization in a more holistic way. So these are the kinds of research questions that I'm excited about and that carry both my research and my teaching forward here in this faculty.